So today is actually the last lesson of the course. It's a course of 7 lessons. And today we're going to talk about the silent inner peace revolution. So let's start. Hopefully you guys can see that. So just to remind everybody now, the blue butterfly is the logo of Aya, and it's a symbol of transformation, the butterfly, isn't it? That's why we use it. And the blue color is a symbol of unconditional love. It's more than a symbol of unconditional love. It's the frequency of unconditional love. So let's have a quick look at the lessons of the course again, just to remind you guys. So 7 lessons on the left there, 7 lessons to the course. The Aya Healing Pyramid, we started off with a full roundup of the Aya Healing Pyramid in short form, just an overview of the Aya Healing Pyramid. And then we went into each layer in every lesson. We talked about the material body layer in lesson 2, the bioenergy layer in lesson 3, the emotional layer in lesson 4, the psychological layer in lesson 5, and then the spiritual layer in lesson 6 last month, which leaves us with the silent revolution, lesson 7. So this, just to remind you guys, this course does just roll on though. So next month we're going to start another course, and we'll start again at lesson 1. So you're quite welcome to carry on and just do it every month. It's completely up to you, of course. There is a lot of information in there, isn't there? And it's impossible to take on board all the information. So it's always good to repeat it. And of course, we do the breath work and the meditation all along the way as well. So if you're carrying on with that breath work and meditation, it's always good to come back and ask questions, and as you go through your journey of self-healing. So on the left there, you can see some written assignments. Sorry, there's a written assignment. There's some other assignments in there. Don't worry about that for the minute. But just so you know that we are actually going to bring in some assignments to this course at some point, and then at that point, it will become a qualification in self-healing. But we haven't got there yet. We're still building out our courses, really. Okay. Let's start, of course, with some breath work. Golden energy yogic breathing. So you guys have been here for ages now. You guys know what you're doing. I will just go through it quickly so that it reminds you, but we don't need to start with basic yogic breathing here. Everybody's done that. We can go straight onto the golden energy yogic breathing. So just to remind you quickly, deep breathing rhythm on the in-breath, belly comes out, chest comes out, right up to the top, hold, and then all the way out to the bottom of the breath, then hold, and then repeat. That's the technique, of course. And the golden energy bit is the visualization. So on the in-breath, you want to be visualizing that golden energy pouring in from all directions. You can visualize it coming in through all your chakras if you want, because now you know that the chakras are entry points for the energy body. So you can visualize all that energy getting sucked into the energy body, if you like. Or if you prefer, it can be pouring through the top of your head or come in through your mouth as you breathe. It doesn't really matter, as long as you're visualizing the whole energy body filling up with golden energy. And then on the top of the breath, you want, well, while you're doing your little breath hold, expand it all in all directions. And then as the air is coming out, you want to make sure you keep that golden energy in. That's very important, keeping that energy in. You don't want to breathe it back out again. We're going to be doing chakra breathing next, and chakra breathing is different because chakra breathing, you're breathing it back out. But in golden energy, you keep it in the energy body. You don't let it out. That's the whole point. You're changing all that, all the energy in your energy body. You're removing it, and then you're bringing clean, clear, fresh golden energy and leaving it in your energy body. So we're doing golden energy yogic breathing. So remember, everybody, vertical spine for this one. And you try and use your nose if you can. It doesn't matter if you use a bit of mouth, it's not a problem. Okay, I will let you know when to stop. Okay, that'll do, I think. Okay, great. Any questions or comments about that? How are people getting on with that exercise? Has anyone been doing it outside of these lessons? Great, good stuff. Is everyone visualizing it okay? Or does anybody struggle visualizing? Yeah, that's okay. I mean, some people don't respond to visualization. They respond more to kinesthetic feelings in the body. But it doesn't really matter. If you're setting an intention to see that color, then the job is happening. So that's something to remember, is that, some people like visualizations, some people don't like them so much, and that's perfectly right. It's the intention that matters, actually. It doesn't actually really matter what you see. And that really comes into its own when you do the chakra breathing, which we'll do next. And chakra breathing, you can visualize the color, but if you don't like really visualizing things, or you don't respond well to visualizations, you can actually put your mind in that chakra opening, and you can feel the sensations in the skin as the energy is going through. So it's just as good as actually trying to see something. Yes. So when you're breathing out, you're not actually expelling anything, really. It's when you breathe it. So when you breathe in, so let's separate first of all the actual breathing cycle with air and energy. There's two different things, obviously. They are connected, which is why we have to do them at the same time. But in terms of when you breathe in, you are sucking extra golden energy in through the chakras, and at that same moment, it's dispelling the energy that is in your energy body at that time. So your any emotions that we've been feeling during the day, that all that emotional energy is still in the energy body. So as soon as you take that big deep breath, golden energy is coming in through the chakras, and it's pushing out sort of negative or dirty energy from the energy body, basically. That's what's happening almost immediately. So it's not that it's actually coming out when you're literally breathing out, but what you mentioned there about trying to concentrate on the out breath, not to breathe out any golden energy. That is good. You want to try and, in the visualization, just keep that golden energy solid in your energy body, because sometimes with some people what happens is that they can't control the visualization, and it turns into a bit of a vision, actually, of the golden energy pouring out while they're breathing out. And when somebody does that, or when somebody reports that that's what's happening in their visualization, that usually means that their chakras are too jammed open. That usually means they have no control over the emotional connections. And this goes along with quite often when people are getting drained of energy because their chakra cores are connected to other people constantly and draining their golden energy. So that's always a sign that their chakra doors are jammed open, because they can't keep hold of that golden energy in the visualization, which is why I'm always saying, make sure you keep it in the energy body. And it's always a good test as to whether your chakra doors are working correctly or not. Okay, let's do some chakra breathing then. So remember the three most important breathwork exercises of this course is basic yogic breathing, which then you move swiftly on to golden energy yogic breathing. Once you're doing golden energy yogic breathing, you can drop the basic yogic breathing, because it's just a stepping stone to golden energy yogic breathing. And then chakra breathing. So those two have two separate jobs: golden energy yogic breathing and chakra breathing. So those are the two you want to carry on with in your practice, in your daily or weekly practice. So chakra breathing to target specific chakra blockages. So we're going to start at the throat this time. If I remember, I think we managed to do a full round of chakra breathing in the last lesson. We'll do the same again this lesson. All right then, so chakra breathing. So let's start on the throat. So remember, as you can see on the screen there, the throat has two openings, front and back. So we're going to do a few breaths on the front, and then I'll just mention to you, move to the back, and then you do it on the back. So just to remind you, you're using the same breathing rhythm as you just did. You're just changing the visualization. And on this time, on the in-breath, you're sucking in light blue energy through the front of the throat, and you're filling up the whole of the energy body with light blue energy until your whole energy body is full of that light blue energy. And then on the out-breath, you're blowing it back out of the throat opening at the front. So it's completely different, isn't it? You're actually breathing it back out again. And the reason why you're doing this is because you're cleaning the brow chakra, the throat chakra. Think of it like a pump, like a water pump. If you've got a water pump that's all stuck and blocked, you force water through it. And that actually makes the impeller spin and clears out the pump basically. So it's a bit like that. That's what you're doing with the chakra. And then you go on to the back, and you've got to do the same on the back. So it's got to come into the back of the throat, fill up the energy body, and then back out of the back of the throat. All right, so let's do the brow chakra, and then we'll stop and then move on to the heart as well after that. Okay. Much easier with your eyes closed with this one when you're trying to visualize, of course. Okay, go for it. Okay, now move to the back of the throat. Same thing, blue energy, light blue energy. Make sure you keep the breathing rhythm correct as well. Go completely to the full and completely to empty every time. Okay, that'll do, I think. Let's pause for a minute. Okay, can I just pick up on what you said there? So on the front, you said that, did you just say that you can visualize it on the front? No, yeah. No, that's okay. So what that tells us is that you're not a visualizy type person, but kinesthetic you do respond to, because and the fact that you have a difference between the front and the back gives you a clear message. It shows you that this part is open and that part is blocked, because whether it's with visualizations or kinesthetic feelings, in visualizations, if you can visualize something quite clearly, the color there, but say go to the back and you can't, you're struggling, then that shows a blockage at the back. Same with kinesthetic feelings. If you can feel the sensation there very easily, then it's open. And same thing again, if you go to the back and it's all dull, you can't even find any sensation whatsoever, that indicates a blockage. So this is why chakra breathing is so good, is because you can self-diagnose your own blockages. You start to get to know your chakras. And then don't forget the lessons on in the psychological layer when we talked about energy psychology. Because with chakra breathing, you can diagnose where your blockages are, but you can also relate it back to the personality. So in energy psychology, the major chakras govern certain characteristics in the personality. So you can work your way back, and then you can fix them. You can go back into the psychology and go, oh, why would I have a blockage there? And then you go into the psychological layer, and then you write down all your afflictions of the mind, and then you do the rewire your mind exercise in the thought patterns. So you see what I mean? You can use chakra breathing as a starting point, and then it sort of unravels the whole self-healing journey. Well, I mean, first of all, just to address the first bit that you mentioned about about have we forgotten to breathe. Now, I know that's a bit of a popular concept when people talk about breath work, but of course, this is a different type of breathing to unconscious breathing, you could say, which is just you breathe normally, of course, and everybody just breathes, and it's normally shallow breathing. But what we're doing here is conscious breathing. So it is a different type of breathing. It's not that we've forgotten how to breathe. It's just that we're doing it consciously, and we're realizing the benefits of deep breathing rather than just shallow breathing like that all the time. And I know that it's a popular thing to say out there about, we've forgotten to breathe. And that also kind of relates to the fact that these exercises are thousands of years old. And in modern society, we've sort of put these kind of types of healing aside and concentrated on conventional modern medicine, and where you could say that we've forgotten some of the aspects of ancient medicines. That's true. Right, let's crack on with the lesson, and we'll come back to the chakra breathing. So this lesson is all about the silent inner peace revolution, the transformation of our world through healing. This is when we start talking about what self-healing can do on a collective level. We start talking about the world instead of just the individual, because so far we've just been talking about the self-healing journey, the individual self-healing journey. So let's start with a little definition of the silent inner peace revolution. A silent healing revolution of the collective inner human, spiritual and psychological condition, causing a change in values and behavior that spreads from person to person like a chain reaction until it becomes a global collective movement, changing the very fabric of our societies. That's our definition of the silent revolution. So this lesson is going to be explaining that paragraph. So before we carry on, I want to mention that the purpose of this lesson really is about hope. Now, I want to start off by saying that because we have to actually start talking about some of the things that are wrong with the world because we want to offer a solution. And we don't like talking about things that are wrong with the world. We don't like being negative. We don't want to make this lesson negative or anything. So before we list a couple of things, we want to say that this lesson, the message is about hope mainly. But it won't escape your attention that there are problems in the world. Pretty much everyone on the planet now can see that there are some massive problems or challenges that the world is facing. Now at Aya, we like to think of things in terms of healing, of course, because that's what we're all about. So you could say that the world has a disease, couldn't you? That's one way of putting it. All the issues that we're facing in the world could be considered a disease of the world. So let's talk a little bit, not very long, but let's talk a little bit about the symptoms of the disease. And we have to. We don't want to, we don't like it, but we have to. We don't want to focus on the negatives too much, but we have to at least label so that we know what's really going on in the world and the challenges that we face. So buckle up for a few minutes and let me go through a bit of a list of the things that we're faced with. So we have some problems with governance, don't we, of course. There is political polarization everywhere in so many different countries in the world. It's happening almost everywhere. There's failures in leadership, isn't there? Everyone's pretty much aware of that. Politics is in trouble, in peril in most places. There's growing conflicts in the world, isn't there? Democracy is in trouble. There's a rise of isolationism, isn't it? Countries isolating themselves and saying, to hell with everyone else, we're going to look after ourselves. There's a resurgence of autocracy in the world. There's human rights abuses. And there's a complete failure of the United Nations, unfortunately. The United Nations don't seem to be able to do anything about it. And the reason is because the Security Council, there's opposing forces in the Security Council in the United Nations. So the United Nations is crippled and not able to do anything about it. But it's not just that. There are social issues in the world that are growing. There is a crisis of truth in the world, wherever you think it's come from, whether you think social media is partly to blame, but there's certainly a crisis of truth. No one knows what's true anymore. And there's a rise of conspiracies, of course. Everybody's become aware of that now. Very strange thing. Whether it's conspiracy that have grains of truth in them or just complete nonsense, it doesn't matter. There's just a rise of conspiracy. There's gender conflicts, isn't there? There's religious conflicts, and I know there always was, but they are going strong. Social polarization. It seems like society is being polarized in two halves in so many different issues. And there's epidemics of fear, anger, and hatred that are spreading through our society like wildfire. There's rising crime. Prisons are overflowing. And of course, social media just amplifies all this. And technology is not the problem. Technology can amplify it though, can't it? Now, I know social media can cause problems because it tends to prioritize the negative over the positive, because that's human nature. It's all about watch time, isn't it? So the algorithms could be programmed a bit better, but ultimately technology is what we do with it, really, that counts. It can be used for positive or negative, can't it? Okay, almost there. So there are systemic issues as well, aren't there? Dwindling resources on the planet. There's housing crises in many different countries, healthcare crises. There's a huge economic wealth gap, which is not getting any better. Most countries have got huge national debt. There's corruption issues everywhere, prison crises, and even schools in trouble. And of course, one of the biggest ones that people talk about is the collapse of nature, of course, as well. Nature is also in trouble. So these are the problems that we're facing. There we go. Went through them as quickly as I could. But I want to repeat now that this lesson is a message of hope, because we want to offer a solution, or let's say join the race to a solution, because the silent revolution is something that many people are doing everywhere around the world. But before we get into that, let's crack on with a little bit more chakra breathing. Okay, so let's go back to the heart chakra now, and we'll do exactly the same on the heart chakra. So green energy coming in to the heart chakra, filling up the energy body with green energy, and then being forced back out. And then I'll tell you when to go to the back again. We'll do exactly the same. We all good? Any questions or comments so far? Okay, go for it. Let's go straight to the back of the heart. Same green energy. Okay, that'll do. Okay, any questions or comments about that? And we'll just move to the solar plexus in a second. All right, let's go on to the solar plexus. So same thing, yellow energy, front and then back. Okay, go for it. Okay, any questions? Okay, well, let's have a little break because it's almost 11 o'clock. Before I carry on with the lesson, let's have a little break now, shall we? See you in a few minutes. Yeah, absolutely, yes. So energy senses, all of the energy senses are a basic human evolutionary trait. So it is, you know, and same with animals as well. It's just that with humans, it's been pushed backwards a little bit over the last few hundred years. You know, a few thousand years ago, you know, these types of senses were probably relied upon more heavily. But these days, because there's so much else going on in the world, and there's so many distractions, and there's so many other tools that people have created, that the intuitive senses and the energy senses have been sort of pushed backwards a little bit, in some cultures anyway. So yeah, everybody is capable of sensing energy in some way. Some people may be better at it than others, and it's possible to train these senses as a skill as well, a bit like, you know, running or sports or anything else like that, really. Okay, I'll crack on, I think. So back to the lesson. So we were talking about all the issues that our world is facing as a disease, or the symptoms of the disease. Now, what is the cure for the disease? That's the next question we want to ask. What is the cure for the disease? We know all the symptoms, we've been through the symptoms. What's the cure? Is it these type of things? Peacekeeping to stop conflicts, change our leaders? Or is it diplomacy? Is it ethical capitalism to change the wealth gap? Is it more housing to help with the housing crisis? Is it climate action to change the problems with nature? You know, more of this and more of that. Well, we would say, no, that's not the cure for the disease, because that would be treating the symptoms of the disease, not going to the cause of the disease, what's actually causing the disease. And that's what is kind of prevalent in modern healthcare, you could say, always treating the symptoms of a disease rather than trying to understand the real cause of the disease. So having said this, what is the cause of the disease? Well, you could say that some of these characteristics could be considered part of the cause of the disease. Selfishness, incompetence, distrust, greed, deceit, anger, ignorance, hatred, fear, cruelty, and enjoyment of power. All these type of characteristics and emotions, you could say, are part of the cause of the disease. We wouldn't say they are the cause, though, but they're part of it. That's what's causing all the problems in the world. It's the human condition we're talking about here, really. So what's the cause of all these things? Well, we've studied it already, haven't we? We've been talking about this during this course. The false self, the mask, the human identity itself. All these things are part of the personality. All those negative characteristics are part of the human personality. The psychological self, sometimes it's called, the human ego, one of the most favorite words for it, or sometimes called the little self or the illusory self. This is where all the problems are coming from. It's the human identity structure, the ego. But I want to remind you here, it's a false identity. Now, we've talked about that at length now, especially in the psychological layer, where we talked about the identity and how it's governed by the solar plexus chakra and how it creates itself with loads and loads of different beliefs, belief systems that it puts together, and it creates an identity around it. And that's what causes the mind stream of thoughts, which then causes the actions, the behavior of a person. But it's a false identity, because we talked about in the spiritual layer how our true identity is pure and peaceful awareness, which is unaffected by the contents of the mind. And if we let go of all the attachments and the beliefs in our identity, or at least reduce them, we can find that inner peace of our true self. So that's the cause. That is the cause of all the problems. It's the false identity. Collectively speaking, of course, humanity. It's the human condition of perpetual suffering, isn't it? All those negative characteristics, they're all types of suffering. So what is the cure for the disease? We found the cause, so what's the cure? Well, is it these things? Transparency, non-reactivity, unconditional love, patience, kindness, compassion, a sense of community, tolerance, happiness, respect, joy, care. Is it all these type of things? Well, you could say that these are part of the cure, because these are the antidote to all the negative characteristics. Definitely part of the cure. But where or what causes these things? Or how do you get to these characteristics? Well, you are the cure. That's what the cure to the disease is, you. So we're talking about you individually here, but also collectively. That's what the cure is. Because when we go on a self-healing journey, individually speaking, we go on a transformation. And as the self-healing journey grows, the silent inner peace grows as well. And eventually we realize that that silent inner peace inside us is coming from our own awareness. And that is the true self. And that is the silent inner peace of the silent inner peace revolution. And that has a cascading effect down the pyramid. But not only that, but we work on all the layers of the pyramid together, which is transforming the personality. So, for example, in the psychological layer, we write down all our afflictions of the mind. We can choose what we want and what we don't want in the personality. We can take away all the negative parts of our personality. We can increase all the positive parts. But of course, all this takes time, doesn't it? This isn't a quick fix. It's not an immediate solution. It takes years, decades, or even lifetimes to go through this. So it does take time, of course. And just to remind you, side 3 of the Aya healing pyramid is the results of self-healing. And it shows the cascading effect of health and well-being down the pyramid. And the results of self-healing is what happens here. All those characteristics like distrust, jealousy, greed, hatred, fear, cruelty, anger, they all get transformed into the positive characteristics. So, for example, the cascading effect, just to remind you, the peace and unity that we can feel in the spiritual layer through the journey of meditation cascades into the psychological layer and smooths out the psychological layer gradually, gives us healthy values, healthy characteristics and healthy values. But we're also targeting that layer as well with different self-healing exercises to transform that psychological layer, which then has a knock-on impact to the emotional layer, and we start to produce positive karma emotions. Do you remember karma is emotional memory, karma emotions. So we're producing more positive karma emotions. That's taking care of our future, and we end up feeling more positive emotions, which then has a knock-on effect to the bioenergy layer, and we get balanced emotion chakras from that. Balanced emotion chakras, what does that mean? It means more emotional stability. Because if you remember from the emotional layer, a blockage in the emotion chakras acts like a grenade, inflates our emotional reactions. So we get a clean bioenergy layer, no blockages in the chakras and the meridian system and the free flow system, which then impacts on the health of the material body, because blockages in the energy body have a massive impact in the health of the material body. It causes disease and ill health in the material body. But of course, we are working on all these layers simultaneously with self-healing exercises. And then you've got the spiritual layer, the silent inner peace cascading down from the top as well. So to reiterate the cure, you are the cure, and that means every individual on the planet. It is every individual's responsibility to go on a self-healing journey, because that is the only way that the world can actually change. But there's a double meaning here, because not only does it mean you, as in you can make a difference by changing the personality, but it also refers to the you, the real you, the true self, the silent inner peace of your own awareness. So it's everybody's responsibility to look inside themselves and awaken their awareness, which is why we are called Aya, which is awaken your awareness. And let's not forget that the outer conditions of our life are only a reflection of the inner conditions. Once you heal yourself inside, it reflects to the outside. Once you heal the conflict inside you, then it heals the conflict outside us. So collectively speaking, what's happening in the world is only a reflection of the collective inner human psychological condition. So the only way to change what's going on in the world is for every person to change what's going on inside them. So that's the essence of the silent inner peace revolution. Okay, let's finish off our round of chakra breathing. So we're on to the sacral now. So let's do the sacral. And as you can see on the diagram there, it's orange. Orange for the sacral. And by the way, the sacral is got the biggest opening. You know, you can see these openings on the diagram there, right? There are different sizes. They're actually fairly to scale. You can see the sacral front opening is the biggest one there. And it actually is the biggest one. It's massive. And quite often when that sacral starts becoming clear and clean, sometimes you can get a lot of strong vibrations going through there because it's a big open. Okay, let's do that then. So first on the front and then we'll go to the back as normal. Orange energy. Okay, go for it. Let's move to the back aspect of the sacral, still orange. Okay, that'll do. Okay, let's go straight on to the root chakra now. We'll have some comments in a minute, but let's just go straight to the root chakra and finish it off. So root chakra is vertical, so the red energy is going to be going up your spine and then back out of your spine. And there's just one opening, of course. Okay, go for it. Okay, that'll do. Okay, any questions or comments about chakra breathing at all? Or anything we've talked about so far? I don't think that I don't think it's necessary to completely try and remove yourself from the world, because we are part of the world, and the solution has to be within the world, coming from the people in the world. So I think it's important to remain in the world and do what we can to help it. However, I also do think that you mentioned marches there. I also do think that the age of protesting is over. I think that the age of marches is over. I think that the answer lies inside every individual. That's why it's a silent inner peace revolution. It's not about tearing down systems. It's not about protesting. It's not about shouting loudly. It's about going inside. That's what the new revolution needs to be. But I don't think that we should shy away from the world either at all. I think we need to be front and center. I think we need to, get out there and be in the world and change it by educating about what the solution really is. Yeah, well, it has been. It's not a new idea, that's for sure. We're rebranding it, but this is ancient, obviously. These ideas, really. Right, we should crack on then. So let's carry on with the lesson. So we had just talked about what the cure was, and we talk about it in terms of individual self-healing, don't we? But just to be clear, what can happen on a collective level? Because this is what the Silent Inner Peace Revolution is all about. It's a revolution of the world, a transformation of our world through healing. And we can go from a world in pain, which is what we see when we look out the window today, eventually to a healed world, or what we call the golden world, or what some people call a new earth. You might have heard that term before. That is a very popular phrase that's been used for a couple of thousand years now. A new earth. And it's also something that has been talked about for thousands of years. And if you're into planetary cycles, then you could say that we are just emerging from the age of suffering, and we're about to move into the golden age of self-realization. And this is what happens during that particular planetary cycle, that the world heals itself. And once the people or individuals or collective has been healed or healed themselves on the planet, nature will naturally heal itself, because as we know, nature bounces back very quickly. And all the problems in nature really are being caused by the people on the planet, of course. And as you go through a self-healing journey, you become more tolerant. You become more caring. And that's care for others around you, but also for your environment that you find yourself in. So quite naturally, once the people change on the planet, nature follows, of course. Now we may be accused of a few things with this lesson and these type of ideas. Idealism, we may be accused of being idealists. We may be accused of not being realistic. When you look out into the world, look what's going on there. How could this ever happen? How could everybody go on a self-healing journey? It must be impossible, people might say. And, people can be forgiven for thinking that, because it does look pretty bleak sometimes when you look out. But we would say that it takes time. That's what the difference is. We're not saying that this is going to happen overnight. Not enough people on the planet are into self-healing and spiritual practice for this to change immediately. It takes time. It takes a long time to change a culture. And that's what we're talking about, isn't it? Changing a culture, global culture, and bringing self-healing into everybody's culture, and bringing it into the forefront, making it a priority in everybody's lives, above everything else, including growth and profits, economy and all that, bringing human and animal and natural welfare as a priority. That's a change in culture. And that is going to happen. It's just going to take time. And by the way, we're saying it is going to happen because it is predetermined to happen. That's our opinion at Aya. The planetary cycles are set in stone. They're predetermined. This is how the universe evolves. This is how planets evolve. So this is coming. And one thing we should try and encourage is long-term stable growth. This is how the Silent Inner Peace Revolution propagates itself and establishes itself through removing our fascination with quick fixes. That's what everyone wants at the moment. Everyone just wants a quick fix. And if it doesn't work, move on to something else. Well, it takes hard work, and it takes long-term stable growth for real solid change to happen. And what I was talking there about determinism, predeterminism. That's why we want to issue the message of hope with this lesson, is because it is going to happen. It is predetermined. It is part of the planetary cycles. It's been known about for thousands of years. In most ancient cultures, there is a system or an intuitive system of planetary cycles. And the golden age of self-realization has been prophesized or predicted for thousands of years in many, many ancient cultures. And it is coming. So finishing on the main message of the Silent Inner Peace Revolution, you are the cure. So start your self-healing journey and then pass it on. That's how the silent revolution spreads, like a chain reaction from person to person. Go through a self-healing journey or start your self-healing journey, pass it on, encourage somebody else to start a self-healing journey. And then it will spread like the ripples in a pond or a chain reaction. And there we are. That's our concept of the Silent Inner Peace Revolution, which of course many people on the planet have started already, but we are making this a central campaign in the Aya projects. Every Aya project that we deliver has this undercurrent or theme of the Silent Inner Peace Revolution. That is the backbone of everything that we want to do. Okay, any more questions or comments about all that stuff? Well, reincarnation is part of the journey of life. And the journey of life is the journey of the source of the universe, because the source of the universe creates the universe of form in which we inhabit. And then it goes on a journey of life, and life evolves on a particular planet. And the purpose of that journey of life is to reach the point of self-realization, which is the universe becoming aware of itself, having self-knowledge through conscious beings in the universe. That's why you need the journey of life, to create conscious beings in the universe, to become self-realized. And reincarnation is part of the journey of life. A soul reincarnates again and again and again and goes on a journey of spiritual evolution, learning as it goes, building its Kundalini system, spiritual growth, emotional life lesson learning, all the way through the animal species, right from tiny animals all the way through the species of animals evolving as it goes. You know, spiritual evolution or reincarnation is part of biological evolution. It's the same thing. It just hasn't been discovered by science yet, that's all. So, but what you're describing there is just the age of suffering. And that's designed. So let me go back to your question here, because you talked about the predetermined nature of things and how it ties in. Well, the age of suffering that we've been seeing on this planet is probably around the last 12,000 years or so. That is designed. That is part of the Akashic cycles. So Akasha is non-physical information, and that's what manifests the world around us. And Akashic cycles are all set in stone. The whole of the future is completely set in these Akashic cycles. And the present moment is manifesting these Akashic cycles into what we see. But the ages, the planetary cycles, are predetermined because the universe is predetermined to become self-realized. And the age of suffering is a planetary cycle. It's there for a reason, because we awaken from our suffering. That's how we awaken, go through self-realization. Individually, we awaken from our suffering. That's easy for people to see. It's suffering which drives us to find a way out of the suffering. And so on a collective level, we go through an age of suffering, on a planetary age of suffering. But then the planet goes through an awakening, a global awakening, when enough people on the planet start becoming self-realized. That's what creates the golden age of self-realization. And all that is written already in Akashic information, non-physical Akashic information, which is infinite in both directions. So it's just playing out the script of a film. That's what we're doing, really. And obviously, it feels like we have free will and that the future's not set because you can't see the future. That's the only reason. But if you zoom out and look at the bigger plan of the universe, it's actually predetermined. It's all predestined to happen. Well, we've got meditation to do. Anyone else got any questions or comments there before we carry on? Okay, should we do meditation then? So, for this one, let's just get comfy, but not too comfy. Try to fall asleep. Well, we've got a few tired people, I think, in our midst today, so you might fall asleep, but that's okay if you fall asleep. So if you cast your mind back to the last lesson last month, the spiritual layer, we talked about the journey of meditation. This is the way to the spiritual layer. And we talked about a few different types of meditation. We talked about task-orientated meditation, where you can do it while doing other things, like making a cup of tea. And we talked about how to train the focus of attention or the focus of awareness. That's why it's a journey. Starting with the subject and object, training the mind to focus on one thing. And that's why it's a journey, because it takes time to train the mind, because it's like an unruly child, or it's like a caged monkey screaming with thoughts constantly. It takes time to train. That's what the journey is. And we also talked about the highest or the most advanced form of meditation, which is called objectless meditation, which is meditating without an object. This is when you've managed to train your focus for a long period of time, and now you can sit in your own awareness without any focus at all. You're meditating without an object in the mind. This is where you realize the subject, the true self. That's what the subject is. And that's the same as inner peace. And it is silent. It doesn't do anything. It just exists. It is just aware. That's all it is, awareness. And that is you. So let's close our eyes now. Let's go on a little journey searching for this silent inner peace. So let's just start with a few deep breaths as normal, just to calm our mind and our body. Just breathe nice and deeply. Make sure any tension points in your body are attended to. Try and relax certain muscles if you can. Keep breathing nice and deeply. Hopefully now you've checked around your body, relaxed anything you need to. For a moment, become aware of where your focus of attention is and how it tends to jump around from object to object to object. Spend a moment looking where your focus actually is. Don't try and control it yet. And keep breathing nice and deeply while you do that. Okay, now we're going to choose an object of meditation. Let's go to what we can hear. Listen very carefully. What can you hear around you? Pick a sound, if you have one. Focus all of your attention on that sound. If you don't have a sound, just listen as hard as you can. Try and hear distant sounds, or even just listen to the static in your own ears. Try and strain to listen as hard as you can into the distance. The harder you focus, the less thoughts will appear in your mind, and the less distracted you'll become. You're straining so hard to listen that there really are no room for any thoughts. Now let's change the object of meditation. Let's move to visual meditation. With your eyes closed, visualize a white square directly ahead of you. Right in between your eyes. If you can't see it, that's okay. Just imagine the outline of a square. Now start to trace the outline of a square around the edges of the square in a clockwise direction. If you can't visualize the square, that's okay. Just trace your focus around the edge in the shape of the square. Notice that it takes some mental agility to do this. The more you focus on it, the less distracted you are, and the less thoughts appear in your mind. Keep going around and round the square in a clockwise direction. If you get distracted by thoughts, that's okay. Just bring your focus always back to your square. Try not to go with the thoughts into more thoughts. Okay, now let your focus rest in the center. Stare directly ahead of you at a singular point in between your eyes. There is a subject and an object. You, the subject, are staring at a point directly ahead of you. The object Keep focusing on that point. Focus as hard as you can. Try and notice what is looking at that point. What is it that is looking at the object? It's you, of course. But what is that? Try and find the you that is looking, the subject, the true self. Can you find it? You can only realize it. It is a conscious presence. It is pure awareness. It's a space of nothing in which everything happens. And it is peaceful. You are the source of true peace. Now we're going to start to come out of the meditation. We're going to take our time, of course. Be very gentle with yourself. Start slowly moving, stretching out a little bit. There's no need to open your eyes until you're ready. The deeper you go in meditation, the longer it takes to come out at the end. Whenever you're ready, you can start to open your eyes very slowly. Okay, there we go. Okay, has anybody got any questions about meditation or that meditation or any comments to make? Let me remind you quickly about meditation and that you don't have to meditate in that way, of course. You can sit down and meditate like that and spend, some people spend hours in meditation because it's very nice, of course, and it's very good for you. But it's also possible to meditate throughout the day, as we talked about last month. Task orientated meditation, keeping on top of your mind all day, never letting up, never letting up with that discipline in the mind. You get the benefits then throughout the whole day instead of just at certain times. All right, lovely. Well, let's call it a day then, shall we?